Okay, so I want to get into the topic of systems, specifically systems in a dissociative identity disorder system. That's what they're called. When you have alters and personalities, it's a system. It's a system of alters and personalities. Dissociation to that magnitude comes from trauma and usually happens from when you are a child. The severity of the trauma when you are a child between the ages before you hit pretty much like 6 to 9 years old, if the trauma is severe, you have, risk of the walls mentally being created and thick and separation of identity. And then you have thick walls of separate identities, and then those are alters or personalities. If it starts there, and if there's more trauma that comes after that, it can continuously grow, and your system can become a huge system of alters, or you can have just a small system of alters. I have that. I have alters and personalities due to trauma. Now, it's very important to harmonize your system because you all are operating as one body, but you're still different people with different feelings, different emotions, different choices, different desires. And those can be influenced by if you all have separate friendships that you are drawn to on the outside, or if you are susceptible to influence even within, because there's different friends and all that stuff within. Now, when I say within, I'm talking about the internal world, because if you're in a system, you have an internal world that all of the alters are before they come to the front. That's pretty much in the back. The internal world is them, where they live and reside in the back. Now, the front is whoever's speaking and presenting and there to be the representative of the body at the moment. When you're co-conscious, that's when one or more alters are in the front together presenting and speaking. Now, it's important to harmonize because the fact that you all have different choices, desires, and ambitions or whatever can sometimes either, scatter you and pull you in many different directions, and then you don't know what you really want, what you really like, or anything like that. So it's really important to, and it's not that you don't know it, but it's like you're kind of like in a tug of war of yourself sometimes if you're not sure who's the host, because the host is the one who's mainly a fronter, who comes to do most of the speaking and everyday outside life. Now, if you don't know who your host is and who mainly wants to front, then you have a bunch of different ones popping in and out. If you're not aware of when you're switching, you're not sure of if it's what you're saying is the host or if it's one of the other personalities. It's very important to know, not necessarily like how many, but like who's the main ones that come to the front, who's the main ones that like to deal with the outside world, who's the main ones that like to deal with just the inside world, who's the ones that are the internal self-helpers, which are the ones that help you with your emotions. The emotional self-helpers help with that too, but the internal self-helpers kind of help the emotional ones. The emotional ones can kind of sometimes be EPs, which are emotional parts. And then you have APs, which are abnormal parts. The abnormal parts can sometimes be alters that are like animalistic or spiritual or, not really like human. You want to harmonize because you don't want different alters sabotaging what you want for your life. And so if you're not in a cohesive, vibe with each other, and if you're going against each other, you're going to be like running around with your tail cut off. Now, you definitely don't want to ignore the fact that you're in a system, because that's not going to make it go away. And if anything, ignoring the fact that you're in a system is going to further scatter you, because then everyone's going to be doing whatever they want, which is granted, sure, like that's the body that you're in, but like you're still going to things that you maybe really focused on panning out just won't, due to disharmonization. And so I really just wanted to let that be clear. Now, some of my personalities have been stars that you guys have known. We're all together again. And some of my alters are I'm pausing because I feel like I need to explain the difference between an alter and a personality. and I'm trying to wait for myself, spirit, to give me the information of that. So I'm gonna pause this and come back. The alters come due to trauma, and they are mostly the ones that are kind of like in the back and have to be heavily triggered to come out, or specifically triggered to come out for different reasons. And they definitely are the ones that kind of take the brunt of handling any more trauma that you're in or going through. They kind of like, you know, they take over with that. Now, personalities are also different altered type states, but they're mostly the ones that are kind of like at the front with you and operating in the day-to-day all the time from what you know of. There's definitely things called amnesiac episodes where you have amnesia, because if you are heavily split in that moment and the wall is thick, you're not going to remember what happens. And it's usually the alters case where when the alters are present, or when they're like going in and out of taking over for different things, the amnesia happens with them. With the personalities, it's less amnesia because you're kind of like co-conscious together all the time, and you're kind of like switching in and out, but you're still remembering everything that's happening. So I hope that that's clear. So I think that's the end of the video so far. So I think, are you serious right now? Can I finish closing? I'm literally about to close the video. Thank you. Okay, so that's the end of the video, and I don't have much footage time, pumpkins. Let me finish this, please, okay? Okay, so I think that's the end of the video. Matrix, I need you to relax, okay? So that's the end of the video. I hope everything was clear. And I am gonna wish you a harmonization journey with your system.